Games 101 with Drew Bowman. That's what this talk is. If you're in the wrong talk, stay because I was lying. This is the future of Kuali research technology. We're going to be talking a bit about the past. We're going to be talking about where we're wanting to go with the technology on the research team. We're going to be talking about the engineering group. So why don't we hit the road? So the purpose oh, you know what? I got to start over. Everyone, you're going to get a little redo for the purposes of recording because I didn't hit record. So just a moment. We're going to say the whole thing over again. Everything that's been said. Oh no, I am recording. Oops. This whole time I've been recording. They'll edit it out. It's cool. Well, I'm going to start over anyway. Here we go. Okay. Welcome to the future. I'm not going to mind anyone's old social media posts, but I do have an old live journal up somewhere with very embarrassing posts from me. No Zanga though. Okay. The future of research technology at Kuali. I'm Drew. I'm the director of engineering here at Research. And we're going to talk a bit about where we've been over the past year. We're going to talk a bit about where we're going, hopefully in the next year, next couple of years. So the goal of our engineering team here is to, empower the users, is to help research and research administrators, make their job easier, make their job better. We want to be part of the amazing research that's happening out there. And we want to make great software that we're proud of and that our customers are happy to use. Like that's our goal. Our goal is to help you or help the people that you help. That's what we're about. So we do that through software. And we've had some challenges this year. There's been some good slides out there, but we've had some challenges with this. 2020, I'm not sure if you know this, but there were some tough things that happened in 2020. Namely, let's see here, delay of the NBA season. I think the whole NBA bubble thing was a bit of an interesting thing. NFL, what were they doing? The pandemic, that was a whole thing. We all were sort of trying to work maybe like this, or if we weren't working this, maybe our dogs were on our laps or cats, there were interruptions everywhere. We're working from home, maybe adapting to working from home when we hadn't. Luckily, Kuali has been working remotely since its founding. So we were pretty used to it here, but that didn't mean we didn't have new challenges, because normally when we all worked remotely, we didn't have other humans that needed us to be their teachers here, which certainly threw a lot of wrenches into some things. Here's another live picture, actual picture of someone's thoughts. And this one's really my favorite here. This is real. There was no getting in quarantine shape here. And I did for a period try to learn a new language, but then it was like, as soon as the kids are in bed, boom, it was literally this. It was a bit of exhaustion. My ice cream bill went up this year in 2020. That's a huge expenditure that went up. A lot of ice cream. So one of the ways that we tried to work on that in the engineering group at Kuali was to focus. We tried to simplify the things we're working on. What are the ways we can improve, tech debt and try to focus in? We were all stretched. So I'm going to start with some of the wins from this year. And I really hope I've covered a win that for the engineers from Kuali that are here that you were involved in. And if I didn't, you can let me know because I'll feel bad. So this is a huge one. So conflict of interest was part of the old KC monolith, part of the SP modules forever. And then several years ago, we started to work on it in Node and React. But as part of that, it was initially written with a MySQL backing. And then a few years after that, we rewrote it in Mongo and using FormBot, same thing that protocols in IRB and IACook use. So, but up until a couple months ago, we were still supporting both. We've had customers, some of you might be those customers that were still running an older version of conflict of interest using MySQL. But as of right now, there's not a one of you that is, because they're all on Mongo. So this is huge because it allows us to simplify our infrastructure, allows the team to find bugs faster. So it allows us to, the code is so much simpler when we've been able to eliminate that extra stuff relating to MySQL. So that's been a really big win. That honestly was significant effort through our customer success team. The engineering team, it really was an effort by the customer success team to do this awesome work that allowed the engineering team to focus. So thank you, Cal and Rajiv and Victor and Kat and Bess. I'm probably missed someone, but yeah, so that was awesome. So we went from MySQL to Mongo. That's a nice image representing MySQL to Mongo. We worked on message queues this year. We really beefed up our message queue use. If you were here in 2018, you might remember yours truly giving a presentation on NATs. We don't use NATs anymore. We use RabbitMQ. Oh, look at that, RabbitMQ. And that was a decision we made, and we announced the last Kuali Days. But guess what? We are now officially at 2 Kuali Days in a row without changing our queuing mechanism, which is a huge win. We are doing Rabbit, and we like it. We love it, and we've started to use it a lot more. This is a huge win because we were chasing some bugs due to race conditions involving the communication between sponsored programs and COI. So sponsored programs, every time a change is made in sponsored programs, it would call an endpoint in COI this, in case someone needed to disclose or update their disclosure. But now it puts those messages on the queue, and COI can be a bit more intelligent about pulling those off, and it eliminated the race conditions. So there were several bugs that we've eliminated, and just sort of like trying to find the source of those bugs when everything seems right, but the updates applied slightly out of order, very challenging. Those race conditions, those concurrency issues are really tough. We've also expanded the use of this to communicate between COI and IRB iCook. So we've got a new gadget that we're adding to IRB and iCook that will allow the users, and I'm not sure if it's out yet, to see the status of a disclosure that is of a person that is on a protocol. And we use queues to keep that stuff up to date. We're also working on a second phase of that where you can have those protocols sync with COI and be projects on a disclosure. So those are some ways we've invested in it, and that's a big one. Reduce some bugs there. That was great. SOC 2. I know you're like, what? How's this a win? But it really forced us to document all the things. And it's been really helpful in really getting all of the ducks in a row. We went through a SOC 2 audit at the very beginning of this year. And first part 1, and we'll be doing the part 2 later in a couple months. But there's a lot of great parts of that helped us identify, some inefficiencies in the ways maybe we're working or places where we had some gaps in documentation. So that was a huge win. Budget is a huge win. You're like, wait, how is building something new focus win? But I will tell you this, the current budget is a source of bugs and a lot of challenges for the team. It's a source of real huge challenges for tracing down the source of these problems in the monolith right now. Omar and Cole could probably tell you the time that you end up spending chasing small bugs into the budget portion of the monolith. So by building the new budget, it's really going to improve long-term, not only the customer experience, but the ability for us to continue to debug those things better. So it's awesome. Here's a beautiful picture of Mark's new budget. If you haven't seen the budget, there was a great talk by Dennis and Mark about it. This is a mock. It's not how it looks actually now, but the team's doing great work on this. It's really awesome stuff, and we're really excited for when we can start getting customers to use it. The other huge area that we invested in this year was testing. So we'll play a video. So we this year spent a lot of time working on Cypress testing. And Cypress is an end-to-end testing tool. This is a recording. It also records all of our tests. So if there's a test failure, we can go up onto a dashboard and see the failure. We can see all sorts of great statistics. But every time a commit is pushed up, every commit, every PR runs through our Cypress testing suite. And this is something we really just added last year in 2020 as the full end-to-end tests. We had some end-to-end tests, but we really ramped up our creation of these tests. So that's really huge because once again, by reducing bugs, it allows us to focus better and it gives us more confidence. And so we've done these in budget, in COI and protocols, and even in some of the monolith. So it's really exciting. You can sort of see it working through a protocols example here. I'm just going to let it go because it's so fun to watch. It types so fast and click.
Joel, do you have a question? I see your hand's raised in Zoom.
Oh, I think maybe he was indicating something else earlier.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. So Cypress testing has been great. So here's an example of the dashboard where for a specific test run, it gives you the information. And then you can see the specific test results and click into those test results. It's been really awesome. It also has automatic retries and will help highlight flaky tests, which is really great. It also gives suggestions on making them concurrent so that they can run faster. So this has been a huge win for the teams as we've been investing a lot in building out more testing. It's been awesome. We also did some integrations, some really cool integrations that haven't quite made it all the way out yet, but the Descartes visual compliance is something that's part of the export control module. That if you have that, then it will automatically, it'll integrate directly with visual compliance for the background checking. And then grant forward for searching and auto-filling proposals. So you can create a proposal from a grant forward grant that you found through there, and it will automatically sort of create a proposal and fill in some details about it, which is a really great new feature that will be coming out soon. I don't think it's that ready yet, but it'll be coming soon for researchers, which is awesome. So what's next? Because this is future of the technology, but we've got to look at where we've been. So, I mean, this year's been awesome. I mean, the teams has gone through a lot of challenges here at Kuali. We're trying to meet, and that's not even like all the things that we've done. That's sort of the major thing, but like tons of awesome features the team has released across all of our products. Really great stuff. Those are sort of more of the tech debt type things we attacked. So what's next? There's a lot of features that the product managers have planned, but some of the things we want to work on coming up is adding more messaging. We want to increase the amount of usage in the messaging. Yeah, I'll explain that, Sarah, in just a minute. Yep. But so we want to invest more in messaging. We would like to have messaging exposed out to you for your integrations. Right now, all of our messaging is done internally and we manage that stuff internally, but it would be nice if you could do something when a protocol was created as an event or any of those events that you could hook into those events. So right now those are internal, but what we want to do is take those and add more of them and then make those accessible to our partners so that they can build rich integrations, not just with the APIs, but with those events. So that's a big thing we want to be doing. We want to continue to unify. We've done a lot of work to share more code between the research applications this year. And we want to really do some work to continue to do that and to unify the user experience, but also, unify the code that we're using. So that's a big thing we want to continue to do more of this next year. And I didn't have a slide I forgot to put a slide for this, but one of the big things we had been working on in 2020 that we're really, continuing to work on, and it's always a focus, is really accessibility. We really want to continue to make investments in accessibility. I know the team's made a lot of work in a lot of different areas on that. And we've been trying to take at least a ticket we've been trying to take at least a ticket or so every sprint towards working and improving our accessibility in some of the teams. So it's something we know it's important to everyone. It's important that if it's not working for people who can't see or who have vision impairments, then it's not really working. That's something we want to continue to improve in. The grant submission process. Not everyone uses S2S for submitting to grant.gov, but we want to continue to improve that process for people who are. We've invested a lot. Many of you probably were at the PDF tool talk recently, but we've invested a lot in that. We want to continue to invest in that because from a technical perspective, supporting that is a dream. And we want to continue to invest in that so that we can make that process easier to debug, easier to improve, and more customizable for you. So that's a big thing we want to improve on. In our infrastructure, we want to continue to improve on our infrastructure. This doesn't really affect people on-prem necessarily, but when you're in the cloud, we run using Elastic Beanstalk right now for our tenants, and we're working on we've piloted moving some stuff to Kubernetes. We've got some other ideas of things we'd like to try to improve our infrastructure in the coming year, just around some additional disaster recovery resiliency things that we've been working on that we're going to see happen this year. So those are some of the big things that we want to be doing in the coming year. So yeah, I'm very open to questions. That's sort of where we're headed in 2020. What is this, 2021? Yeah, we're also hoping to see each other in person. That's a thing that's not on here, but like it's a huge thing we're really hoping to do at some time in 2021. So I'm open to questions. This is thank you, but it also could say questions. And we already had a question from Sarah. Yeah, so and Omar answered a little bit, but yeah, we've added an integration, and it's not. I don't know if it's all the way out there yet. We've added an integration that will connect Grant Forward. Will have a configuration option that allows you to put in your Kuali URL information specifically for Kuali, and it will create and that will provide a button to the user to be able to create a proposal in Kuali from a Grant Forward search. So the customer, we'll have more details as that comes out as a thing that people can use from the product team. The product team will work on that documentation, but it is an exciting thing that the team's been working on this last year. So it's super great. Thanks for the question, Sarah. What other questions do we have? And when you have your question, go ahead and you can, Noah, why don't you go ahead and share, and then share what school you're with. When you say your name and what school you're with. I haven't been enforcing this, but I would like it.
Hello, Noah Margolis, and I'm from UC Irvine. We're running the monolith on-prem, and we're going to do a hybrid. So protocols and COI will be in the cloud. And so I wanted to know, what's the future of the monolith? I know that, in general, I think you're taking things and moving them into the new stack, but is there, any more detail on that?
I have so much detail. So much of it I can't share, I don't think, but we are actively investigating it. I know Casey mentioned it briefly in her talk, her keynote, but we are doing some really early planning for what does that look like. The designers are exploring it, because the reality is we wouldn't want to do we're not going to do a full fidelity apples to apples exactly, oh, here's IP, here's award, here's proposed, here's all these different things, right? So it's a real it's a beginning of a project that is a long project for investigation. We understand that for someone to be able to move to it, we want it to be something that's smoother than our previous transitions. Maybe for people who move from something like the COI, maybe host it on-prem or, to the cloud. We want to try to make those transitions. It's something that as we move forward with it, we're investigating pretty heavily, and not only that part of it. So I don't have a lot of detail, unfortunately, I can share right now, but it is a project that we're very much starting to look at right now. And there are people working on it right now. So it's a project that's actually been essentially approved. It's just early stages. So, yeah. But that's, unfortunately, I don't have any detail exactly yet, but it is moving. We are going to attack the old
which modules, or what's the priority order for, prop dev, first, last, award, first, last, that kind of thing? Or
there's a very active debate internally about that. So it hasn't, that we are actively, there's people on all the sides of it, as I'll say. So, but as we get closer, as it continues to advance, we'll definitely have more information, and we'll start, being able to relay information about how the migration would look like and things like that for people. So, yeah, no, that's a great question, Noah. And I'm sorry I can't give you more answers. I can't wait till I can. I bet next year you're going to get so many answers about that. I can't wait.
I'm expecting it to be many years in the making, because we're a slow moving ship over here. And so even just changing the database is taking us multiple years.
It's tough.
Just keep us in mind. We make changes slowly.
You're always in my heart. You'll be in my heart. To quote Phil Collins, you'll be in my heart. We had a question from Gene. Gene, why don't you go ahead and share?
Yeah, I noticed that in system to system, we see NIH, we can really see all the errors right up front before we submit a proposal. But with NSF, it's just almost a shot in the dark to kind of see it get over there and how they're going to bring it in and how it looks. And it just seems like NSF isn't playing with you. Or they're busy trying to do research.gov and don't have time, or I don't know. Is there anything, I mean, what do you all see?
Yeah. I don't know, but is there anyone here from Kuali that wants to speak to that has more information? Because there might be someone here that knows, but there might not be. Oh, it looks like Steve Dowdy is going to share something.
I can share a little bit. So NSF has always been super reluctant to embrace system to system. And now as they're moving from Fastlane over to research.gov, we finally got their attention. There's a group, and Kuali has representation that sits on this thing called grants.gov JAD, Joint Application Development. And we have NSF's ear. So NIH exposed all their APIs so that Kuali could consume those and do the same validations that NIH performs, which is why it looks like, we have great integration with NIH because they did the work to make that possible. NSF is committed to that. They're still trying to figure out what kind of ways they're going to do that. But NSF still just wants everybody to use research.gov. And so whenever they talk, it's always like, oh yeah, and then we'll do system to system later. And they're not as fully committed. But there's active work going on with the FDP and others to get NSF on board better. And David Saunders, who heads that team up at NSF now, is much more engaged and listens much more to our needs. So I think we'll get some relief soon that NSF will start exposing their APIs or whatever they're doing to allow us to do the same types of validations.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Steve. We got so many good questions over here. So I'll speak to a couple around messaging real quick, because there's a couple in here about messaging, but I'll sort of summarize them. Chris had one, and so did Zach. So Chris had asked for getting access to messaging events, like a new protocol being created. Is this a roadmap, or is there other information you could share? And then Zach had asked, is there going to be technologies that customers would need to run on their end in order to do that? So right now, it's not on the immediate roadmap. It's on the sort of technical planning roadmap. So we're discussing it from a technical perspective as we're implementing it. It is, but if it was implemented, there wouldn't need to be, unless you were on-prem schools they already have access to everything. But if we were posting messages, say for a protocol to some sort of queue, be it a queue or Kafka stream or something like that, you wouldn't need any specific technologies to consume it, would be the plan. So the idea being that but right now it's not on the immediate plans. It's not on the next 3 months, but it is something that we're talking a lot about. So unfortunately I don't have any details on exactly, what it is, but it is something that we want to continue to do. Had a good question from Mark from Kent State, and several other people are very interested in this. We got several signed on. Any plans improving, redesign the award module? Yeah. Ooh. Award. Yes. I mean, there is goals like that, ultimately that's a product business decision. From an engineering perspective, as we examine the monolith, as a whole, the pre-award, post-award proposal, all that stuff, as we examine that, award is certainly part of it. The challenge, yeah, it's definitely something that we want to give some attention to, and it's just trying to figure out with the resources we have, how do we, where does that fall in the thing? But there, we want award to be, we want it to be better. We really do. I talk with a lot of people wanting that. Steve, we got a couple. I really like Steve Dowdy's comment in here. I will say it too. We're stuck with KNS and K crap. I mean, K rad. Beautiful, Steve. That's a good one. Ian would like us to focus and attention on it. Will it move away from Java based? The likelihood is that oh yeah, that's good. Omar, we do internally call it KSAD, not K. That's something that KRAD. KRAD, for anyone who's like, what are they talking about? KRAD is one of the functions, one of the technologies that's part of RICE. RICE being sort of the core. So the monolith, I'm going to just sort of go into this for people who don't have this knowledge because I had to learn it a bit. So the monolith, as we call it, the sponsored programs modules, they consist of several modules, and those modules all use the underlying core of something called RICE, which stands for something. Someone to say what it stands for? I don't know what it stands for. Steve, you probably know.
It doesn't stand for anything. When
Oh.
Kuali was founded,
That's right.
Kuali is a Malaysian wok.
Yes, a wok.
And you can't have a good Asian dish without rice
Rice.
as a
There you go.
staple. So it's not an acronym. It was just
There you go.
chosen as
It's essential.
you can't have a decent Asian dinner without some rice.
So rice is what sort of has a lot of these different things. And there's sort of two different sort of rendering technologies, if you will, that are formed for building out the user interfaces. One of them is KNS, and that's what like award and sub award, and some of those are built in, I think probably IP. And then prop dev is built in KRAD, which was, it looks better. Interestingly enough, it's really hard to build in, but it does look better. It's a better user experience for people using it. But the challenge is like building in it. It's not great. And so, but that's what KRAD, that's what KNS are. They're the rendering mechanisms. The plan is probably to move. Yeah, there we go. Kuali nervous system, Kuali rapid app development. The plan would be to probably move to something like our node stack, Steve Ashwell, for the future of where that stuff goes, of a monolith rewrite, of rebuild, new products for those things. There was a question here that I missed.
Yeah, from Tyler Wilson.
Oh, yep, the data storage solutions. Data storage solutions. Why do we use which we use? When the decision to start using Mongo is made, the ability to support flexible documents like we support in protocols and COI was not nearly as good as it is now in the relational databases. Now those relational databases have a lot more ability to support flexible documents easier in a way that's really rapidly queryable. We can do some really interesting queries and valuable queries to customers with very flexible user interfaces and very custom forms quickly using Mongo and the aggregate system and the ability to do that. So, that stuff is discussed quite heavily. Any future advancement, that stuff is reporting as we consider moving, into and attacking certain things like proposal development or award or IP, those things. the way for people to get data out and report on it and put it into your data warehouses is something that's important to us too. So that's something that we're going to be continuing to consider. The challenge is always going to be, how do we support the wide variety of needs of every customer while keeping it, similar, so it's a product and not a random thing. So that's sort of the conversation that goes into the discussion of whether it's going to use Mongo or use MySQL or something. I hope that helps, Tyler. So many good questions. This is fun. Okay, someone else ask a question and I'll stop talking for a couple minutes.
I've got a question. Noah again from UCI. So for the monolith, it's currently Java 11. And I think, that's like a 3-year Java, whenever the LTS version has its own time frame. So when will be the next bump in the Java version?
I don't have it on my current roadmap right now. Do you have it? I mean, have you all talked about that before I was working on it, Omar? Had you and Jeff talked about that at all? No?
No, we just did the Java 11 a little while ago.
Yeah.
But it was a big jump to Java 11. I assume
Yeah.
jump to the next one is going to be easier. But we don't have any plan right now moving from Java 11.
Okay. Yeah, it shouldn't be like a major thing, right? It's just everything gets the version bumped and Java will just be another thing. So it's not a...
Exactly. The major change was jumping to Java 11. We needed to do auto changes for that. So it should be smoother moving forward from Java 11.
And we'll make sure for the on-prem schools to alert you all when we're well ahead of time, so that you're not caught off guard or anything. Yeah. Thank you, Omar. Everyone, if you don't know Omar has been a developer on Kuali Research and specifically the Monolith sponsored programs for a long time, and he's awesome. He's great. He's just amazing, and I'm so thankful to have him here. We have a really great engineering team full of people who really enjoy trying to make great software for researchers. And it's really fun. We want to get to every single thing. That's the hardest part about our jobs right now, is that every one of you has so many great things that you want and need, and we want to do them, and we just have what we have. So we do what we do. But we're thankful for you and for everyone on the engineering team. I'm really thankful for. So what other questions do we have? This is good stuff. Thank you, Noah. Again, you're going to get a gold star of some sort. I don't know what it is. Steve Dowdy's also going to get one for great answers. So what else do we got?
Hey, Drew, this is Jim Becker at Indiana.
Yeah, Jim.
During the keynote, there was some discussion of foreign influence being a module or something that would get worked on. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah. So right now, the extent that we cover foreign influence is export control, but there's a lot of other things in foreign influence other than just export control that a university has to deal with. And so right now, what we've been investigating, and some of you know this, Casey's been looking into foreign influence for a year, and we're exploring, ways that we can continue to, invest in it. So, the main thing that we know right now is that it's something that we want to continue to do, and we plan to do in the next couple of years. And it's sort of, that's part of the discussion, is understanding, as we go with things like pulling things out of the monolith, that's pulling export control, out is part of that into a whole full foreign influence suite. It sounds like Steve turned his video on, so he might have something to say too.
Yeah, I'll just say, Jim, that the KR EST, we're having tons and tons of discussions about our strategic vision of how to morph what's currently there for export control into something larger that we would call foreign influence. We're also talking a lot about the priorities of rewriting the sponsored programs. It's like, is it going to be better to get rid of KNS before we get rid of KRAD? I'll be nice. And then we're looking at the funding for that and how to get partners to come to the table and help support that. So those are the KREST and you know, your friend Jeff McGregor, and I think anybody that's ever worked in Kuali knows anytime you go to Quick Start and you log in, you're Jeff McGregor, who's at Indiana. There are super active discussions going on at both the KREST and at the foundation board level as well. Because I think not only the KREST, but the foundation board itself recognizes that this is a really good thing for research. It will help drive customers and sales and all the other things to help sustain and pull in the recurring revenue. So we are talking every month for hours about this right now.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Man, thank you, Steve. This is great. Steve's going to be at all of my talks from now on. He's the best. This is awesome. Steve Ashwill asked the question, how we prioritize bug fixes that get reported. That is mostly done through product. You know, the product management team works with customer success to prioritize bug fixes, and CS keeps a list of their top bugs. We really would love to have no bugs. That would be awesome. Right now, we have certain other things that we have to prioritize sometimes, but we generally work on a few bugs each sprint, and CS and product work together to prioritize those. So that's generally how that's done. It's a great question, though. We are chugging on those things, and sometimes we'll take a week or two to just hit bugs as well. Each quarter, we generally take about a week at least to just sort of go after bugs and try to see if we can knock that down. So yeah, thanks for the question. What other question? This has been so fun. I really enjoy all these good questions. We would normally probably have these discussions over lunch and dinner, shared lunch and shared dinner and all those sorts of things, shared breakfast. Well, I want to thank everyone again for coming and joining us. I want to thank the awesome engineers and the awesome customer success and people who support the engineers and support you all. And just everyone's really, it's been a long year, and I'm sure we're all excited that 2021 looks like there's a bit more light at the end of the tunnel. And we're excited for, continuing to share out things for you all. We have a Kuali sort of tech open hours, tech office hours that we have. We mostly talk with our on-prem schools in that area, but if people are interested in collaborating or speaking with the engineers, that's a place that we sort of open ourselves up to for chatting. We generally sort of help each other solve problems. And the community forum is a great place also. Some links to those information are in the integration domination talk notes if you go back there. And we love to hear from you more. Yeah, thank you so much. And one more plug for tomorrow. During each of the breaks, 30-minute breaks, I'll be hosting some games for people if you want to try to get a bit of a simulation of what it's like to be a normal Kuali days when you can actually chat and have fun with people. That'll be a bit of it too. So thanks so much for coming. And yeah, have a great day, everyone. Have a great Kuali day. Thanks.